Now's your chance!
Hey, what is going on, guys? TalkNorwichCity here, back for my final predicted 11 video of the season. I am slightly wondering where this season has gone. It literally feels like yesterday since I was on the train down to Fulham, excited for the new season. And it's been a very strange season. There's been quite a lot of ups. There's been a lot of downs. There's been a huge transition. There's been a lot to talk about. And I think that's why it's gone so quickly. Admittedly, the past kind of month or so has been a bit bland. Although we've had Wes Hoolahan, his send-off. We've had a couple of good wins in there. It's been a really enjoyable season, I think. Not in terms of the football on the pitch, but the way in which the direction of the club is going. You know, that massive bit of investment coming from the fans. That's an exciting moment in Norwich City history. And I think hopefully we'll start to see them positive movements start to go into play over this coming pre-season and next season going forwards. Anyway, it's Sheffield Wednesday up this weekend on Sunday at 2 o'clock, the final game of the season at Hillsborough. This is the team I would go for. And unfortunately, the team I've got in my head, I don't think many of these players are going to be here next season. In goal, it's been Angus Gunn, and what an absolute privilege it's been watching him this season. I wasn't sceptical, but I didn't think he'd be as good as he has been. He has been magnificent. Third place in the Player of the Season trophy and beaten by two fantastic players in Grant Hanley and James Madison. That man can hold his head very, very high. There was a lot of pressure on his shoulders with his dad being Brian, being a local lad, a Norwich City fan. He hasn't looked pressurised at all this season. He's played with a smile on his face and he's been one of the standout players. Unfortunately, I can't see him being here next season. I think if we would have got promoted, then I think we could have banked on getting him. Unfortunately, I think the Premier League awaits for Mr. Gunn, and rightly so. He's been magnificent. In at left back, and what an absolutely fantastic breakthrough season it's been for Jamal Lewis. He has been magnificent. We brought in James Husband thinking that he was going to be the man to take us forwards. We soon found out that that wasn't the case. And up step Jamal Lewis. Absolutely brilliant, incredible athlete up and down the pitch. Positioning has let him down a few times this season, but on the whole, he's been brilliant. And it's really good to see a youngster come through and really bed in and become the first choice left back. The central defenders pairing of Tim Close and Grant Hanley once again has been brilliant and one of the bright sparks this season. Defensively, we've looked good. There's been a lot to moan about this season, and I'm quite happy to hear all of your moans in the comment section below. But I think we can probably all agree on the defence on the whole this season has been absolutely brilliant. Grant Hanley coming in has been a revelation. He's been magnificent. Tim Closer, I feel, brings something a little bit different to the defence. Not everyone likes him. I do quite like Tim Closer. That is a really nice central defensive pairing. And then at the right back, it's been a bit of an interesting season. Ivo Pinto made captain. You expect him to be the first choice right back all season. I think, was he either suspended or injured? Harrison Reed comes in and he starts playing like an absolutely fantastic right back. And I think he's actually the far superior right back. I love Pinto. I love him to bits, but I don't think he's been that great this season. Positionally, he struggles at times. Going forwards, there's no doubt he's got a bit about him, but even so, his crossing isn't that great. He loves a little chop. Look, he's pacey, and he's certainly not a bad Championship right back, but I think Harrison Reed has been better, and I love this man. If we can keep hold of any loan signing, it's either him or Angus Gunn. He loves the football club. Every time we score, his celebrations are brilliant, and he's just a real dogged Championship player, so we've got to hope that Southampton stay in the Premier League. I think if they do, then we've got a real good chance of keeping Harrison Reed, because the main fight is if the player wants to stay, and I think Harrison Reed really enjoys it here. In the midfield then, Alexander Tete. Could it be his send-off? I'm not so sure. I must admit I did think it probably would be, but I think it was yesterday or the day before, Paddy Davitt tweets out, #NoCircus, the Tete deals are advancing and they're looking quite decent. We could see Alex Tete stay for another season or two. Look, where do I stand on Alex Tete? He's not my favourite player. I think he's been brilliant this season. I must admit, he's petered off a little bit towards the end of the season through that run at the start of the season where we were winning away and and doing quite well at home. He was the pinpoint of that. I thought last season was probably his last. He was revitalised under Daniel Farke and has been really quite decent. It's all about his wages. I think if we can't cut his wages, then don't keep him. If we can, then we've got Ben Godfrey returning. We've got Louis Thompson returning from injury. We'll have Tom Tribal. I think all of them players are probably a little bit better than Alex Tete. What Alex Tete does bring, though, is a bit of experience. We're probably going to be losing Russ. We are losing Wes Houlihan. Look, we need some experienced heads in here who've done it before. Alex Tete's got that. If we can get a decent contract, then I don't really see the problem with keeping him. Next to him, I'd love to see Tom Tribal reintroduced. It was fantastic hearing that Tom Tribal song at the weekend when he was warming up in front of the Snake Pit. I've missed Tom Tribal. Norwich City have missed Tom Tribal. We really need to get him back involved, and he could be a big player next season. Going forwards, Murphy, for me, on the left, he's been inconsistent at the best of times this season. I think he has to work on his attitude. I think he has to work on his body language, but we all know that Murphy has got it. He's scored a fair few goals this season, considering our lack of goals in general this season. He can be impressed with some of his performance. He can be disheartened with some other performances. I think we just need to find consistency in Josh. I think we need to, Nick Conrad said it on the podcast. If you haven't already, go and watch that after this. It was probably one of my favourite podcasts we've done. He said he needs to work with someone who can just help him mentally, because I think he's struggled at times. But second half against Leeds at the weekend, magnificent. Second half against Aston Villa earlier on in the season, magnificent. That goal he scored against Aston Villa, magnificent. He's got it in him. He's a local boy. We want it to work for Josh Murphy, but we need to see consistency because he's not a youngster anymore. Patience is running thin with Norwich City fans. In the middle, of course, it's James Madison, and unfortunately, I think it will be his farewell. I can't see us being able to keep hold of him. I think Madison would probably want to stay, although I think the Premier League awaits. Liverpool being touted with £30 million bids for him. Look, if a £30 million bid comes in for James Madison, even if he wanted to stay, the club aren't turning that down, and that could be a massive chunk of money to be able to reinvest back in the side. Like Angus Gunn, though, a real privilege to be able to watch James Madison this season. Not only off the pitch with the way he's held himself, but on the pitch as well. Magnificent this season. I've really enjoyed watching Madison. And on the right, I think one of the most impressive signings under Farke's regime, Onel Hernandez, looks brilliant. Small, quick, direct. He is the better version of Yannick Wilshere. I loved Yannick Wilshere, not because he was a world beater, but because he was direct, he was pacey. We've lacked that so much in wingers, probably since Nathan Redmond. Hernandez brings that. I'm really looking forward, hopefully, to seeing him given a long stretch of games next season. He's a good player. And up front, I think and I hope it's Nelson Oliveira's last game. I've lost patience with Nelson this season. He hasn't scored the goals. I don't think his work rate is that impressive, and I don't think he fits this system. Look, I do like Nelson, but I don't think it's going to work at Norwich in the future for him. Let's give him another go. Let's see what he's got, but I can't see him being here next season. That is the team I'm going for. We go up against the Sheffield Wednesday side, who've struggled this season, but Fernando Forestieri is back, and his reintroduction has boosted their form a little bit, but on the whole, look, I don't really care what the result is. I just want to see us put in an exciting and a positive performance, because we've lacked that this season. Let me know your thoughts on this team. Unfortunately, Madison, Reed, Gunn, probably closer. Nelson aren't going to be here next season. Who knows? Big summer ahead. Hillsborough at the weekend. Are you going? Let me know. Fansbet, links in the description. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.